As we said before the break, President Trump is fiercely pushing back on questions about the success of the strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities there. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. And Alice, you got some late word on what's coming out of the Pentagon.
Right. So there's a press briefing that's been ongoing with the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and also the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And they have been going through a sort of a detailed explanation of all the work that went into the strike over the weekend on the Iranian nuclear sites, and particularly on that Fordo underground bunker buried under a mountain. And not just what happened actually the day of the mission. They've been talking about all of the members of the military that were involved and praising their precision and their work. But they've also been going through kind of a detailed history of all the work that went into developing this weapon that was specifically designed for a target exactly like this, basically designed for this mission. And we heard from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He said that all 6 weapons at each spot that they were targeted for went exactly where they were intended to go, and that based on all the modeling and all the work that they'd done going into this, that they believe that that means the weapons would have ripped through the open tunnels and destroyed critical hardware down below. And he talked about how there was a high degree of certainty with how these weapons were designed that they would be able to carry out this kind of a job. So it's very clear from what the defense secretary said that they really wanted to kind of put it all out on the table and talk in much more detail than we've seen so far about why they believe that those facilities were as badly damaged as they do.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of back and forth on the success of these attacks, and now the CIA's assessment is being pushed out by the White House. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we also heard from the head of the CIA, the director of the CIA, who said that there is now credible intelligence indicating Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged and that it would take years to rebuild. And this kind of full court press of getting all of this intelligence out there comes because there was a report leaked. It was a preliminary assessment from the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency that estimated that Iran's nuclear program was delayed by a matter of months, rather than completely obliterated, as the president has been saying. And so the president was very adamant that that report was, while it was authentic, he said it was premature and that they put it out before it was finished and it was based on kind of conjecture. And so in response, we're now seeing all of this information that I just spoke about being put out on the table to kind of say there's one little data point there that's getting a lot of attention, but there's a lot of other information from the CIA, from now the Defense Department, that backs up that the damage was in fact extensive. All right, we're also hearing that the U.S. and Iran will meet next week to discuss a potential nuclear deal, but the president is also saying that a new nuclear deal with Iran may not be necessary. Is this more of political gesturing at this point? So I think what he's talking about is that there are going to be talks, from at least the way that he's saying it, that the U.S. is going to sit down with Iran. The way he put it initially is that there was a show of strength by the U.S. that he says paved the way for peace. And of course, he has been touting this ceasefire agreement that he was very instrumental in brokering between Iran and Israel. And now he's saying, OK, we're going to talk. But his point is that he doesn't think it is as necessary as it was before to sign a formal agreement saying you will not build a nuclear weapon, because he is adamant that the capabilities that Iran might have had to build said nuclear weapon have been destroyed. Again, there are questions about whether they could rebuild it and, whether it'd be nice to get something in writing, certainly either way.
Gotcha. All right, Alice, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.